Welcome to BeyondCyber, a podcast powered by UDT, where we talk with industry leaders from diverse backgrounds about cybersecurity, technology, and beyond to keep up to date on what's happening in the world right now. Let's get into it. Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Beyond Cyber. My name is Ali Janatha, and I'll be your host today. On this episode, we'll talk about the top things that everyone needs to know in 2022 about information security. Welcome, Mike. He is our first guest on this podcast. He is currently our Senior VP of Cybersecurity Solutions, as well as our Chief Information Security Officer here at UDT.
Thank you, Ali, and to the UDT family. It's a great pleasure to be here on the first ever Cyber or Beyond Cyber podcast. I'm happy to be here and share all my experiences and what we're doing at UDT to ensure our customers' safety.
Amazing. So Mike Sanchez has over 15 years of experience in the tech world with a history of working in the information technology and services industry. At UDT, he is responsible for the development of cybersecurity and risk management solutions that are delivered to our UDT clients. As UDT's Chief Information Security Officer, he is in charge of the overall information security program. Thank you, Mike, for taking the time to come and share some of your expertise with us today.
Thanks again.
All right, so let's jump right into it. So in 2022, everyone knows that technology is a huge part of our daily lives. Can you please explain the importance of having at least a basic information security understanding?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, look, for me, this is an issue that stretches beyond a technology issue. This is an issue that touches people, process, and technology, right? And technology alone is not going to solve all the issues and all the attacks that we see happen in the industries, right? We've seen an enormous amount of investments in terms of dollars spent on cybersecurity. It's in the billions, right? And there's really no holding it back, right? But the majority of that has really gone on to technology platform spend, but the cyber attacks still keep coming. Right. And I think it's because it's an effort that needs to be supported by processes, right? Governance, oversight. It's not just about blinking lights, right, in boxes. It's about how do I configure these boxes to make sure that I can pick up different attacks, right? Because what good is the box if you don't configure it correctly? If you don't tell it what to pick up, you're going to be in trouble.
Makes sense. So that being said, since it's not just about technology, can you give our audience a brief process that they could implement into their business or their daily lives that will just create a more secure environment for their information?
Yeah, look, I can be here for days trying to give, providing tips and best practices and processes, right, that I've developed over years doing this stuff. And the pains and gains of this business are real, right? It's a very stressful, a lot of high pressure, right? Position, making sure that not only your client's information is safeguarded, and also their privacy is safeguarded, because people forget the privacy issue as well, right? Mm-hmm. But having us at UDT be secure in the way that we protect our customers' data, and their information is paramount, not only to me, but to our CEO, Henry, right? I mean, both Henry and I, we breathe, live, sleep this stuff, right? We worry about it. We're passionate about protecting our customers' data and UDT's data and information, right? So, but look, the top three things that people should pay attention to, and there's a lot, right? And people have different views on this matter. But to me, number one is inventory your assets. And when I mean assets, I mean people, technology, documents. That's what I mean by inventory of assets. Assets to me could be a user. How many users do you have? How many admin users do you have? I often see that our own clients or an organization doesn't keep up with the number of users they have on their systems that they provide access for. They'll hire someone today. It might be a subcontractor. That subcontractor may not be with the organization 3 months down the road, but they're still showing as an active user
Right.
in the systems. Right. So, listen, we can't protect assets unless we inventory and know where they are at all times, right? Especially now that we've moved into a remote workspace environment, right?
Yeah.
It's extremely important. The second thing that people should be doing or paying attention to is training your folks, training your resources, right, on spotting, anomalies. You're gonna get an email phishing attempt. I mean, you can guarantee that. It's because it's an easy thing to do. These guys, they know it's a numbers game. They'll send out thousands of email, right, hoping to compromise a user, and they typically do. So that's not going to go away. So the one thing, the what I call the tip of the spear is your employees, your users, right? Everybody that has access to your systems, they need to always be aware of what's new in the marketplace, or in the industry, right? What's being used to target them, right? How to spot a misspelled URL address or domain name, right? That's a sure thing that you can always spot for. Or a link. If you see a link, for God's sakes, don't press the link or don't hit the link. Right?
So now, when you say, like, you see a slightly wrong username is emailing you, how do you know when you need to not click that, when you need to not enter your information? If it says it's from your HR at UDT, I want to not click it, but I'm not sure because I don't want to get in trouble with HR.
Right. Well, you're going to get in trouble with me as well because we will make sure that we train you every month, right, on this stuff, right? We're very diligent about sending these tests out. But the one thing you always can do is hover above the link. Place your mouse on top of the link. You'll always see the right URL address on there.
That's good to know.
Right. But also, on the address on the from section of that email, I mean, if there's a misspell, if there's an M missing from the .com, or if your organization's name is misspelled, right, or someone else's organization that if it's coming from for instance, a Coke.com, right, but it has a KO instead of a CO, that's a pretty sure sign that you're getting phished. Right, and it's a moment for you to take a pause and get someone to look at the emails without having to double click on a malicious link.
Right. So pay attention.
Absolutely, always.
Always.
100%, always pay attention. You're gonna get phished.
Yeah.
The third thing is, and this is where I think people struggle, right? People always, I'm always asked, Mike, where do I begin? I know all the things that I need to be doing, but where do I begin? What takes priority? So, this is oftentimes a game of whack-a-mole. People don't have a way of prioritizing what fixes they're going to apply, right? And in order to do that, you really need to understand what are your main threats. When I say threats, I mean, we all live here in South Florida, right? For instance, and we know we're gonna probably face some type of hurricane situation come August and September, right? So we start preparing. That's a real threat, right? An earthquake, not so much, but a hurricane, yes. So we know what we have to do, right? We have a preparation, we have a checklist of things that we need to start looking at. We started looking at that back in April, maybe. And so the same thing applies here in the information security space and cybersecurity, right? And by the way, a lot of people say cybersecurity. I always tend to say information security because it's a holistic view of the challenges that we face, right? Cybersecurity is just a subset of that world. So for us, it's more to make sure that, because there's a tendency of overlapping terminology here in this industry. So it's always important to get it right.
Right.
Having said that, prioritize what you're going to fix based on your threats. I mean, you know you're going to get email phished.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got to do against that? You train. You make sure you have good backups.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You make sure you secure all your mission critical systems. Another threat could be it could be a vulnerability that I have allowing access for remote users to try to log into my network.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big attack vector. So what are the things that I need to do to close those holes in that vulnerability, right? So prioritize your fix in accordance with the threats that you face every single day. And so you can always refer to things like the Verizon data breach report. You know, they deploy an annual excellent incident report that details all the different attack vectors against different industries. So use that as a starting point, for instance, to start putting in place a mitigation strategy.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say different lines of business face different security issues, right? And that's why being a CISO, it's very important that you analyze each business individually. And that's why when people avoid doing that, when they think it's a basic line of having this protection, that's where they get lost and that's where they get breached, right?
Yeah, they tend to try to protect against everything,
Right.
and you can't. You're going to get lost. You don't have enough time to do that, or resources, and it ends up frustrating people.
Right.
Right, and then you when you prioritize everything, then nothing is a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And then, look, the last thing I want to mention is it's important that you get buy-in from executive level, right?
Right.
Owner of the company, or C levels, executive level. If you don't have buy-in, then it's going to be challenging for you to get a good information security program in place.
Right.
Right. So you got to be able to communicate this in a non-technical way to the guy that writes the check.
Yes.
Right? Because the guy that writes the check, may not understand all of the technology things going on, right?
Right.
But definitely understands the impact
Mm-hmm.
not doing something will have on your organization.
Right.
That's in its most basic form. Try to get that message across.
Mm-hmm.
This is the impact this will have on our organization if we don't put in place the proper safeguards against these threats. Okay.
Perfect. All right, so let's jump into our next question. So one of UDT's solutions for cybersecurity protection is UDT Secure. Can you explain briefly how UDT Secure helps our clients?
Yeah. So this world here is very complicated in terms of deploying an information security program.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we're really proud of is the UDT Secure, what we call portfolio of cybersecurity solutions, services, and products, right? And it's a way for us to roll out, implement an information security program that a customer can adopt and that can help them with the challenges they face on a day-to-day basis. They face challenges of shortages in resources, personnel resources, budget resources, right? So there's a myriad of challenges they face every single day. We think that we've put together a very good portfolio of cybersecurity solutions and services in a programmatic way that leads to an outcome, right, that is aligned to a business's, risk objective and their overall business requirements, right? So very important. So it has technology solutions in there, but it also has all of the governance and oversight activities required to roll out an information security program. So if you have, for instance, if you have challenges dealing with third-party audits, we have the resources in place to help you get through those challenges, because that is an ever increasing one across every industry. So again, we're very proud of the way that we've designed this program based approach, where it doesn't just take a point in time view of your security posture, but it gives you all the tools and all of the necessary resources behind it, right? To have in place a pretty good and mature information security program right from the get-go.
Right. And it helps them maintain as well, right?
Absolutely. This is a continuous effort when it comes to information security program. This doesn't go away after one assessment, right? This is something that we found or we identified the problems. Well, okay, you fix it once, but how do you monitor it to make sure it doesn't change? Because attacks change,
Right.
and vulnerabilities change. So this is a continuous effort.
Beyond Cyber is sponsored by UDT, where our motto is to accomplish more. We find motivation in providing our clients and partners with transformational solutions. Go to udtonline.com for more information. All right, Mike, so let's do one last question. So, as CISO at UDT, what practices have you implemented that have impacted the security here at UDT?
So, we're very proud of the whole UDT Secure concept, right? And I think one of the things that when we started this adventure 7 years ago now, right? Again, UDT has a great sterling reputation in terms of an information technology enabler, right? But we wanted to make sure that we also secured and protected everything that we sold, everything that we service, everything that we support, everything that we manage, so that we don't introduce, a vulnerability into our customer's environment unknowingly, right? With that said, we eat our own lunch here, as Henry likes to say, right? And we employ everything that we provide guidance for to our clients. We do that here because Henry, I tell you, Henry and Gerard and Jesus and myself, we're very passionate about making sure that we protect the data here at UDT. And that we employ all the best practices that we provide guidance for. So this UDT Secure program-based approach, really, we follow it to the letter. We have monthly meetings with Henry and with Jesus to make sure that we're following the strategic roadmap that we defined 3.5, 4 years ago now, right? It's taken us some time to get to that maturity level where we have a reasonable sense of deploying an information security program to safeguard our practices, our people, our processes, right? But it's a challenge. But I think that we've stricken the right balance between oversight and technology, right? To make sure that we have this information security program that drives our effort and has that risk-based mentality into everything that we do. And when I say risk-based mentality, I'm referring to the fact that, remember when I said people tend not to prioritize their efforts? Well, that's why we risk-base everything. It's because we know what our threats are. Or we like to think that we know what our threats are, right? And we go through a lot of simulations and testing to make sure that we understand where those threats are coming from. If they're new, evolving threats, emerging threats that are new and no one's really seen it before. We'd like to understand it, and we'd like to see if it really applies to us, and then put in the measures to safeguard our assets, right? So, yeah, this is a continuous effort. It's one that keeps me up all day and night. And but again, we're very proud of the way that we developed this program-based approach and the way that we apply it here, because we really use UDT as a test bed for everything else we do.
Right.
So we really apply all those mechanisms and practices here at UDT before we roll them out to the field.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for joining me today on our very first episode of Beyond Cyber. My name is Ali Janatha.
Mike Sanchez.
And thank you guys for listening to our first episode.
And by the way, I think this is way too short. It's like only 20 minutes, right? Or something like that. I mean, we can be here for days. I don't know why we're not here for days. This is episode 1 of 30. That's what it should be.
We'll be coming out with a lot more soon.
All right. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
I'll be here. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond Cyber podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love if you give it a quick 5-star rate or share it with a friend or a colleague. Want to know more about the company behind the show? Head to udtonline.com and we'll catch you up on the next episode.